Make sure you grab different color spray paints, different size thread edges, and everyday household items like cups or lids. My name is Arturo Lopez, and I created Spraycasso Studios back in 1999. I have then continued to show people diverse ways of creating master paintings in just a few minutes using nothing more than just spray paints and everyday household items. The beauty of this art is that you don't have to have a steady hand or know how to draw. All it requires is a little bit of imagination and some dedication. So join us, and you too can become a Spraycasso master. I will walk you through diverse techniques of creating beginner level paintings, intermediate level paintings and techniques, advanced level paintings, and we'll take your skills even further to master level paintings. So if you guys are ready to embark into a new art adventure, then grab your spray paints and materials. Let's get started. Hey guys, alright, so pretty awesome tutorial that I have planned out for you guys today. I know we've talked about multi-layer stencils, and I told you last time that, I joined forces with a guy named Red, and he does stencils. I thought the name of his company was Red Stencils, sorry about that guys. You can find his stencils at the webpage called stencildude.com. Anyways, I know he's working on that, but he's provided us with some stencils to work on. So today we're going to be using multi-layer stencils. See that? So this is going to be a swan. That's the beak. So you can do a orange beak. And this is shadows. These are also called the negatives, right? When you get a stencil like this, sorry about the dirt guys, but I left them outside. Evidently, the beak, which was going to be done with orange, the cap broke off, and I don't have any orange, so we're going to have to improvise, which is one of the best things about spray painters, right? We have to improvise most of the time. So we'll improvise that, it's no big deal. Orange beak will mix a little bit of red and yellow. Alright, I know, actually let's talk about that a little bit. I've gotten a lot of comments, why don't I use a broad selection of colors? You guys are right, I usually stick with the basic colors. Green, blue, right, black, orange, red, white, and yellow. So it's about 8 colors, clear coat 9. That's just a personal preference. If I need dark green, I mix a little bit of black with a little bit of green, dark green. If I need a lighter green, a little bit of white with green. It's just a personal preference, guys. You guys can definitely get a variety of colors out there, pink, purples. Please do. Don't limit yourself just because I do. I find it challenging. I do. It's kind of like a test. I test myself, right? So you guys don't have to do that. That's going to be the shadows. Gives you a good gesture of what the swan's going to look like, right? And then this is going to be the beak. Alright, so we have our painting. You can do, with a marker, your signature in the back. I always do my signature before I do a painting. Always put it in the back. Remember, this is the glossy side. This is where we're going to paint. This is the matted side. Now, I've had a lot of questions about this. A lot. Like a lot. Glossy is not like glossy photo paper. It's different. It's not as sticky, because photo paper is really sticky. This is not. This is very glossy. This is matted. It's kind of like paper. Just like paper. I know a lot of the new spray painters have a lot of questions about that. That's what it is. What brand do I use? Well, let me show you. I'll show you real quick. Guys, you can get this online. Woo. Peacock. Right, they come 5 per package. I no longer carry anymore. I used to sell not quite Peacock, but another different type of poster board, but you can still get this online. Alright, so let's begin by starting with a signature. And I usually just do this. Right? And you can get fancy if you want to, and you can start adding little, arrows. And it's up to you guys. It's up to you how you do your signature. You can really have some fun with it. Let's begin. So I have an idea of what I want. And I think it'll be something like this. So what's the rule number one that I usually do when spray painting stencils? You guys remember that? Well, if you don't, I usually like to mark down. This is color place, guys. You can find this at Walmart. Okay, usually, guys, I ask you guys to put down the positive side of the stencil and then do your spray on top of that. That way you get an outline. In this case, we're going to use the negative and get an inner outline of the stencil. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to be using white, and so I want to be able to keep track of what, where the plumage is going to be. It's going to help me also keep control of highlights as well. I'm not going to go into great detail. This is going to be an intermediate level tutorial, but you definitely can make a master painting out of this with this stencil. So I'm going to show you the basics. We're just going to create some of the plumage here. Okay, now you guys will notice that it's going to start turning gray. That's okay. That's definitely okay. It'll definitely help us keep track of, some of the areas that are going to need a little bit more white than others. Again, guys, you can go into great detail to make this swan look very realistic, picture-like realistic. But in this tutorial, I'm not going to go into great detail. Again, it's just an intermediate level tutorial, so we're just going to create some of the plumage by adding highlights to some areas. Now, you can also create some pretty cool effects, such as feathers, with this technique, and I'll show you how. Just get a little bit of that white and smear it upwards. See that? Now you can create the feathers. You can create the wings doing that, maybe the spread of the wings. So, as you can see, guys, there's a lot of technique that you can actually put into this swan to make it very picture-like, realistic. So let's tackle down the basics first. Let's continue adding the white. Now I'm going to add more white in certain areas because I want certain parts of the swan to look fuller, maybe more of a light reflecting off of them. So for most part, here in the front, you guys see how it's getting lighter every time I add some white to it? Well, that's the effect I'm looking for. And since spray paint dries so quickly, we can keep doing this. We can just keep adding layer after layer of it, and this one will get lighter. As you can see right now, it looks like it's very light in the front, and then it starts to go into a dark gray here towards the back. I want that because I do want some more shadow in the back. So I'll just keep adding white here in the front. And the thinner the layer that you make, the sooner it'll dry. Okay, I'm just going to keep doing that. Keep in mind that there's a lot of contours to a swan as well. You obviously got the wings right here where I'm adding some white, so I'm going to add a little bit of white there. I do want some shadow between the wing and the tail, and you can already start seeing it here towards the back. Alright, let's put our swan there. Now look at that. It's exactly what I was looking for. You got a little bit of a shadow here towards the back. Now if you need to add more shadows, there's the second part of the stencil. And it's very, I want to say foolproof, but not spraycasso proof, because believe me guys, if I can do it, anybody can do this. I'm just going to add a little bit of black in some of these areas. Just like that. And all you have to do is just match the top parts of the stencil. And see, there you go. Now you know exactly where you want some of these shadows to go. So you can just keep adding a little bit of white and blending in that shadow with the white. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white here on the side. And I hope you guys see how handy the sea sponge is. I know a lot of people out there like to use other types of media, such as I've had people ask me about a sock. Yes, the inner side of a sock has a lot of texture to it, guys, but it doesn't hold as much spray paint as a sea sponge. Okay, now see, here's the part where I'm blending in. I want some of that white to overlap some of these areas, and when you start blending it together, it'll actually form a very realistic shadow effect. A little bit of black. And this is the techniques that I use to make my some of the animals that I make that are very realistic, guys. I just keep adding layers, blending them together, get the right combination of white, black. For most part, shadows, they're made with purple. I don't know if you guys knew that. We'll make a tutorial about that. So we just blend the colors together, get a nice blending effect between the two stencils. I know most of you guys can't see the swan anymore, so whenever you're having a hard time seeing the swan, you could always put your stencil back on top, the negative stencil, and it'll show you what your swan is looking like. It's gonna come out looking like. So whenever you guys get the stencils, remember you can go to, it's gonna be called www.stencildude.com. and that's where I get my stencils from, the metal ones. I'm also gonna, there's also stencils on my website that you can cut out yourself. Alright, but as you guys can see, I really like these metal stencils. They'll last longer than cardboard, and they're definitely worth the investment that you make on them. They'll pay for themselves within the first time you start painting and people start buying your stenciled paintings. Okay, now look at that. Now you got a really nice transition of gray with white, and if we place our negative stencil on top of that, that's what your swan is going to look like. You see those definite shadows along the neck, along the wing, and the tail. Alright, we're going to put this last stencil on top of it. This is going to be the beak. And as you guys know, I obviously don't have orange, so we're going to use a little bit of red and yellow to make orange. Once the layers that you've placed down, your paintings, are nice and dry to the touch, go ahead and put the positive part of the stencil. And I just added a little bit of white to remove some of that paint from the background. Now I'm just going to add the actual painting. We're going to start off with the sky, put a little bit of water, and just, you know, work on the layers that you want your painting and how you want your painting to look. This is an intermediate level way of creating water, which is you put down some blue, some white on top, and then you smear the colors together. Next, once we get a nice ripple effect going on, we're going to add some bushes here in the background. Use a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange, a little bit of brown. Kind of mix those together. Just going to add some bushes here in the background. You see this type of tall grass, right? Well, here in Carlsbad where I live, we don't actually have too much of it, but there are some areas where we have some. Added a little bit of black here in the background. Tinted the water. You guys know the water tinting technique. Just a little bit of blue and green. Now, here's a neat little effect. You can create the reflection of the swan by using the negative side of the stencil. Now, with a little bit of black, we're going to start creating the ground here on the bottom. And here's the cool thing. I do this a lot, and you guys will see me do this in my tutorials. I like to change the scene a little bit. Maybe I'll do a transition from, I don't know, an evening to a morning painting. In this case, we darkened it up a little bit. Added the moon here in the background. Now we're just going to add some grass strands here on the bottom of the painting. And with the spraycasso funnel, we're going to go ahead and create a tree. This is the silhouette technique of creating a tree, right? Just a little bit of black. Here we go. We're going to do that to both sides. Now, here we added a little bit of orange and red. Now with the spraycasso tool, we're just going to go over it, you know, create the bark effect. And this may take a couple of tries, guys. make sure you practice this. It's actually an advanced level of creating trees. So we're doing a little bit of a combination here. You guys have seen me do this in a couple of my tutorials, create a terrain. And we're just mirroring some ground colors, a little bit of orange and red and brown. And we're just mixing that and smearing them into the ground. Kind of like a little landslide. I really like that. So we're just going to do that. And we're not going to leave that landslide, you know, just bare ground. So we're going to add some bushes, some flowers perhaps. You can make this as colorful as you want or as dark as you want. I thought I'd do a little combination here. I know I'm asked a lot of times, you know what you're going to paint? And I said, well, I have an idea. In this case, you know, you can tell that we started doing a very light type of painting. Started off somewhere in the maybe in noon, and then we turned it into a night scenery. Added a bit more bushes, some flowers here on the bushes, and just guys have fun with it. The painting will guide you to say, huh? It's all up to you. It's all in your imagination. Here we are in dark and light technique to the trees. A little bit of dark on one side, and then keep in mind where the moon rays are coming in, and just add a little bit of white on that side of the tree. And it makes your trees stand out. You know, it makes them very realistic. It gives them a little bit of a light effect as well as a shadow effect. Thus, the light and shadow technique. Okay. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of black here, a little bit, you know, and just add some highlights throughout the trees, a little bit of white. You can make the effect that the moon rays are coming through. And this is the painting that we've created. Okay, now you can add a couple of ripples here on the water. Use a flexible straight edge. And just going to place it around the swan here. A little bit of white. Now see where I'm aiming? I'm not aiming directly on the painting. I'm aiming a few inches above the painting and let the mist come down. Alright, and you guys should have something that looks like this. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's tutorial. I'm just going to add a little bit of clear coat here on the bottom and make sure you sign it. And alright guys, well, until next time, you guys keep those cans shaking. Make sure you check out my website. It should be up and operational. Send me a text. I definitely get email there. Okay, and be sure to fill out some of the polls that we got going on. Alright, talk to you guys later. Bye.